What's up, everybody? It's Coach JB with HoopStudy. Welcome to another masterclass. Today we have assistant coach Brianna Thomas from Brown University. Now, before we get started today, we do want to thank our sponsors, Synergy Sports, where we get all of our video clips. If you need anything when it comes to Synergy, all you have to do is shoot me an email at justin@hoopstudy.com. We'll get you connected over there. They're helping everybody now, from middle school, high school, college, pro. This is the number one resource for getting film in the game of basketball. And we also want to thank Wooter. Wooter has done a phenomenal job of hooking us up with all of our gear. They do a great job with apparel and everything that you need, from backpacks to t-shirts to shorts to jerseys, everything that you need. But again, today we have Coach Brianna Thomas from Brown University. She's going to talk to us about spacing. But before we jump into that, we're going to have Tomo and T introduce themselves, and then Coach Thomas is going to introduce herself.
Awesome. Well, good morning, everybody. Good evening, wherever we may be. My name is Coach Brianna Thomas. I'm an assistant coach going into my second season here at Brown University. I'm originally from Toronto, Canada. So I'm excited to be here in this atmosphere just to talk hoops, and to continue, sharing the concept of basketball and how we can evolve together. So I'm excited to get started.
So, Coach, I know you mentioned that you're from Toronto, and I know a little bit of your background. You spent some time as a graduate assistant. If you could just get the coaches caught up in here a little bit about your background and what made you want to come on and present for the Hoop Study Masterclass.
Absolutely. So originally I came to America to pursue a college basketball career. I apologize.
Bye.
Um, but yeah, so I kind of got here for basketball and I stayed just as a grad assistant at my alma mater. And then from there, I kind of decided, this is what I love. This is a passion. I love giving back. So that's kind of how I got to where I was.
Fantastic. And remind us of who your alma mater is.
I played at Duquesne University.
Ken University?
Duquesne. Duquesne.
Duquesne.
Ken University.
All right, cool. Yeah. So you played at Duquesne, you're coaching in the Ivy League now. What do you think are some of the biggest differences that you've seen between, Duquesne, where, it's about a mid-major level, and then you're switching over to the Ivy League?
Yeah, I think the biggest difference, and you can see it kind of like across different areas of the United States, is just like the style of play is different. So, like in the Midwest, it might be more like inside out dominant. Here in New England, it's kind of like we're really, prominent on like threes and twos. So, for us here in the Ivy League, we're really here at Brown, especially like we lead the Ivy League in 3-point attempts taken. So, from my playing career and like coaching as a grad assistant to now being in the Ivy League, I think we were more like rim runners. We'd always play with two strong inside post players. And then here in the Ivy League and, here at Brown, I think it's more so, you have a 5-out offense or you have more like versatile fives, right? So you're playing more outside game. And for us here, we're really focused on like threes first and then like twos as close to the basket as possible. Whereas when I played, it was kind of like threes, mid-range, and twos. And, mid-range was kind of something that like we loved and we honed in on. And right now we're really emphasizing the 3-point shot in terms of like the points per possession that it gives you.
So obviously it's a little, off topic here, but when it comes to the athletes that you're looking for to bring into your program that really, can excel in your program and in the Ivy League, what are some of the things that you all are looking for those athletes? And I know that the transfer portal is a huge thing now. So we'll focus. Is it different between the high school athletes and the transfers? And if it is, what are those differences?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, essentially everyone is recruiting to the style of play that they're trying to excel in and then trying to also recruit to their weak spots, right? So, going into these live periods, the last couple of weeks here in July, what was really important for us was to find, high school AAU players that had the skill sets that fit into our system. So shooters, rebounders, playmakers, I think that kind of falls into everybody's pot, but really like to what level can they do that at, and what skill set do they have the most of? Are they mostly just shooters? Are they mostly just, point guards who can facilitate? And then like as forwards or five players, are they strictly just rebounders, or can they stretch the floor as well? So looking for different combinations for different players and making sure that all fits into the 2025 class. With transfers, I would say it's the same. Um, Obviously, it's a little bit more tricky because everyone's in the transfer portal, right? So, essentially you're looking for athletes who really just fit into that one bucket potentially. So if it's rebounding that we're missing, really looking at rebounders who get, 10 plus rebounds per game, or forwards who can shoot the ball and extend the court for us. And if that's really what they excel at in the transfer portal, like it might be really just their specialty that we're looking at in terms of that, and obviously making sure that they're well-rounded human beings and individuals. But in terms of skill set, those were things that we were really looking for recruits and for transfers.
All right, so last question for you, then we're going to get into your presentation for the day. For the athletes who are looking to come there, obviously you have your physical standards, you have your skill standards that have to be met. If you can't hoop at that level, then you're just not getting recruited. That's just what it is. It's a harsh reality at times, but sometimes it's something that athletes need to come to terms to. But outside of that, let's say you have athlete A and athlete B, they both have the same skill set. Physically, they're in the same place. What are the type of intangibles that you're looking for that are going to put them over the top out of the, over their opponent or the person that they're trying to get that roster spot over?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I think some of the intangibles that we look for are really just like self-motivated athletes, right? When you talk to athletes, you start figuring out like who they are as people, what they do in their spare time. And we love to hear those who that are always in the gym, right? Getting shots up. After this second live period, hopped on the phone with a few kids, like, yeah, coach, I was in the gym today. And we're like, it's Tuesday. You just got off the road on Monday. But those are the types of kids that, we really look for. And, that's some things that like inch them out, but also like really good people, good families. And then, academics is something that's important here in the Ivy League, right? And not to say that like we don't want ballers, right? We want both. We want like that balance. We're looking for more of the baller than the academic side. But when you get on the phone, you talk to some of these kids, academics needs to be important as well. And we need to know that it's not like the parents that's pushing the athlete to go to an Ivy League, but essentially like they're the ones who also want to go there. And, they're taking the rigor of courses and classes. But, I think it's like the fundamental, like well-rounded, comprehensive that everybody says. But that's something for us, like we can tell on the phone the type of person you are through the various conversations that we have, through talking to your coaches, your parents, all of those things. Like, who are you at your core? Are you good? Are you not? But I think the intangibles really just come down to like who you are off the court, regardless of what you do in the weight room, regardless of what you do on the court. It's who you are outside of that, who you are as, a friend, a family member in the classroom, and all of those things. I think that becomes more important than like if we're looking at a one-to-one ratio of like you do the exact same thing as somebody else. Okay, well, like academically, what does that look like? Are you self-motivated? Are you doing things outside of the basketball court that make you a better, person, XYZ?
All right, coach. So let's get into your presentation for the day. Today, you're going to talk to us about spacing and everything that you all are looking excuse me, everything that you all are looking to do at Brown. Just a reminder for all the people that are here for today's session, we highly encourage you all to interact with each other in the chat. Not only is this a great place to learn, this is also a great place to build relationships. Over the past couple of seasons of our masterclass series, we've had people be able to attend different practices, form some great relationships, and we've even had some people pick up some jobs. Not trying to get anybody to pick up a job while they're here, but it's not an unheard of thing to have happen. So again, coach, we are here to talk about spacing today. The floor is yours.
So I essentially, to start off, right, I think the biggest thing is like defining what your concepts are and how you want to play your offense. So, for me and for all of us other assistants, we're really playing off of what our head coach wants to do and the personnel that we have in our program. So there'll be, in some programs, rim runners, right? And that could be your posts and or your guards and or, a high and wide transitional offense where everybody's really spacing the court and the ball handler might be the one penetrating into the paint and trying to spray it and kick it out to everyone on the 3-point line. So I think the biggest thing is like starting off with defining like what kind of transition, offense you want to have. I'll talk about our half court spacing as well, but I think that's the big thing to start off is like when you get a defensive rebound, what are you looking to do in that first few seconds after you grab the board? For us, we're kind of like a high and wide. We're trying to get it into the paint, and then we're trying to get it to our 3-point shooters. If we can put pressure on the rim and get a score at the rim, that's awesome. That's perfect, but I'll show you some clips after this, and you'll kind of see like our first instincts for everybody else is like to run and space wide to the wings on the 3-point line. The very first frame that I have shown, and let me know if you guys can't see my screen.
Yeah, we're good.
But this is just a quick fast draw that, I created that kind of emphasizes like where all of our players will go. So essentially, our one or any guard is going to grab the ball, push it up, and everyone's starting to go wide, run the lane lines, not lane lines, but run the sidelines, get to the deep corners, get to the wings, and like fill all of those 5 spots. If the one has an opportunity to really penetrate the middle, she would take it and keep going middle until she stopped. When she stops, she's looking for her 3 on her left side, her 2 or her 4. So our 5 spots kind of fill into the 5 perimeter spots: the corner,
Okay.
the wing, the top of the key, the other wing, and then the other corner. So that's how our transition would look in terms of spacing. I know, and I've been part of programs where, the first person down would hit the block, the next person down would hit the other block, and then the third person down would hit the wing. So spacing really just looks like what the personnel you have in your program and how you're really adjusting to their skill sets and what your emphasis is. For us, it's the 3. So that's why everyone is getting to the 3-point line. Let me toggle over. I'll show you in real time what our transition would look like, and then I'll talk about our kind of how we shift that to practice, how we shift that to game time focus. But essentially, I'll show in real time what our transition looks like. So it makes a little bit more sense as to how we start to fill our lanes and fill the sidelines when we're moving. So in some of these clips, you'll see our 2 guard or 1 guard will have the ball. All right, and our first few steps here, you'll see our guard Bella, right? She's in front of the whole pack, and typically a lot of coaches will teach like a rim run, right? Or like a block run for most people who are ahead of the pack. Here you'll see Bella when she turns to run and she's in front of everybody else. Where does she end up? Right? She's running wide essentially to the corner. So for us, that's a big thing when we're, looking at how we're practicing, how we're preparing for a game. We'll do 5-on-0 where everyone's really running to, their corners or their wings to space everything out, if that makes sense. And here, so this game we're playing Colombia, and, we started our second half really hot. You'll see 2 of our wings. So Olivia right here underneath the basket, and then Bella really tiny. She's about to get onto the right side of the court. After a made basket, we're outletting it to our point guard at the time, right? She's looking up. Right now, 4 out of the 5 defenders are still in this 3-point line. Olivia, she's about to get wide left. Bella at the top of the screen, she's about to get wide right. And There's one defender for the two of them. We're staying wide and we're spacing, right? So at this point in time, I pause the screen, Liv has the opportunity to really dive and get an easy layup. But for us, the 3 is the emphasis, right? Points per possession. We kick it to Liv, right? A lot of people defensively are taught to protect the paint, protect the rim. So for us, the spacing allows us various options. And if Kyla, who had the ball at the time, really wanted to keep the ball and attack the rim, like she also has that opportunity to keep going, right? But essentially help was in the paint. So for us,
Coach,
high and wide.
can you divide a little bit?
Awesome. So yeah, so essentially in your transition game, wanting to define what the biggest concepts that you want to do primarily in your primary transition and emphasize that in practice. So your players have muscle memory in terms of what it looks like when it comes to game time. So for us, like I said, we're all going wide. The point guard, if she has an opportunity to push it down the middle, our 5 will rim run if she's not the rebounder, but 9 times out of 10, she's either the rebounder or she's taking it out of bounds.
So, coach, for those transition threes, is it pretty much anybody who catches it out in transition, let it fly? Or are there different standards? And pretty much, if Tomo catches it out on the wing, he's good to let it go. But if JB catches it, maybe try to get a paint touch and spray it out.
Yeah, there's definitely, different emphasis for different, athletes. For the most part, everyone has the green light to shoot it. However, they also know their strengths and their weaknesses. So, for the majority of our players, they know if they're running wide, they have the green light to shoot it. For some of the other ones, they'll probably be the ones like pushing it, trying to make the play in the key, right? Trying to either get to the rim or jump stop and make that pass out. But we have those conversations regularly. So they're aware of, who will be the one shooting it or who will be the one kind of being the facilitator off of the dribble.
So, coach, it looks like we have 2 questions right now. If you wouldn't mind answering them, I'll have Tomo read them off. Let's answer the first one, Tomo.
The first one is gonna be the how how many patterns, like how many kinds of the transition offense do you guys have on your teams?
Yeah, essentially for us, we have one type of transition offense, and it's really just trying to get the ball into the paint and then kick it out for a 3. So it's just one. There's multiple options, I guess you can say, out of it. As we're this summer, we're building a secondary offense to, if we don't have anything in our first options, to get into second options. But right now we only have really just everyone goes wide and we're trying to get to the rim. If not, we're trying to kick it out.
So as handler, like after getting the defense rebound, like goes to the mid lane or side lane, which is the most like likely to go.
For us, we teach but to the sideline. So for us, it's more likely for our point guards or our guards to get the ball so they're able to see up the court and see what's in front of them. So they're seeing the rest of the court versus getting it in the middle of the court and turning and not knowing what's in front of them. Yeah, so we just talked about transition. Now to transition over to kind of like the half court and how we can emphasize spacing in our half court. What we like to do, we like to do a lot of 3 versus no defense, or like 4 versus no defense, and then sometimes 5 versus no defense. So 5 on 0, but we work on spacing away from the ball. So if the ball's, coming towards you, really trying to give the ball space and some air. If the ball is going away from you, really trying to fill behind the basketball so your teammate has somewhere to pass the ball to. And then we do that repetitively. It might not be every practice, but we do that, almost every week, just so it's muscle memory and we're really like trying to learn and build off of that. when it comes to what we're working on in the half court. So I have a few practice clips that will really emphasize kind of like how we do that. We also work on like small-sided games, so 3v3 or 4v4, where we're emphasizing the high lift or, the space away. So I have a few clips that will really, emphasize and kind of show what that looks like in a practice setting. Us as coaches will hop in when we don't have our practice players. So be wary of, some of us coaches will be on the screen. But essentially it emphasizes the same thing that I'm explaining. So essentially for us offensively, just like defensively, we want everybody to move on a string. Defensively, we emphasize if somebody moves to the ball, everyone's jumping to the ball, jumping to the midline. Offensively, it's the same concept for us. So you'll see one of our guards is coming up to the top. She's coming off of a ball screen. And as that happens, the two guards on the sideline are now shifting over as she's coming off of this ball screen. And that's just emphasizing, our fills as the ball's moving away from our players. So this is, something that we do regularly within our practices. When it comes to game time, and I'll talk about that, we might emphasize different actions just depending on what defense might do and what their tendencies are. But essentially, she's driving it away. My second guard isn't moving, but as you see, my wing started shifting and filling behind as this guard came off of the ball screen. So those are things that, we like to emphasize just so it's muscle memory in the half court. Another thing that I wanted to emphasize is we talked about in our transition, our primary transition, everybody's spacing to the wings and the corners, right? So here we're doing a 4-on-2 essentially, offensive breakdown, but you can see those 4 spots that we're working out of are 4 out of those 5 spots that we get into in our transition offense, and we kind of flow into our half court from there. So biggest thing for us is we're trying to give air to the ball, right? We're not moving early. We're waiting for the ball to be on the move prior to us, filling. That's essentially, there's different ways that you can break it down in the half court and especially 3-on-0. I didn't put 3-on-0 in this presentation simply because I think there's various ways that you can do it. However, there's different elements to the we can do a beginner level, an expert, an intermediate. It's just based on like your skill set and also the types of players that you have. For us, we don't do a lot of 3-on-0 in terms of where we're at because all of our players have the understanding of what the expectation is, but we'll put in defenders in there to give it a different level of expertise or, difficulty to what we're doing in our practice. Next thing that I want to shift to is how we prepare for games. So each, game that we have, we'll sit in here as a staff and we'll discuss, the defensive tendencies of, our opponents and how we can create advantages, whether it's one-on-one advantages, 1-on-0 advantages, or just keep the defense scrambling or, kind of have a domino effect. So the next couple of clips that I have are just how we would prepare for it in practice. And I'll explain simply like what we consider the defense to be doing, how we were going to counteract that, and then I'll show that how that was working in a game. But basically your spacing concepts, we don't change them. Obviously, as the ball's going away, we want our fills to happen. We're just going to have in these clips like a high lift, which means that the person defending the corner offensive player now has to make a decision. Are they following up with the shooter or are they tagging the roller? So in this segment here, all right, we're working through a ball screening progression. Essentially, we want our guard with the ball to come off of this ball screen, either looking for the roller or she's looking for her teammate who needs to be filling up really high because through the film that we've watched, her defender essentially either tags the roller as she's rolling back to the rim, or she needs to decide if she's staying out with the shooter, if that makes sense. And in the second segment, I'll show you what our expectation would be if the defender were to be helping or tagging the roller. So in these next few segments, Coach Devin here would be the tagging the roller, and we want to make sure that our girls are coming off of this ball screen, now looking for the high lift and their guard that was in the corner lifting ready to catch that. You're on mute.
Yeah, sorry. So, Coach, we got two questions for you. So obviously, you guys get into that follow action, right? Swing the ball, pass. For those who don't know what the follow action is, you're literally just going to throw the ball to your teammate and then follow it and set a screen. So, just out of curiosity, do you all also get into a get action or a chase action as well in transition?
Not necessarily in transition, but however, we get into a lot of get opportunities in our half court. So that'll be something that we definitely emphasize. We have the reversal, like you said, the follow action and or the get. So just depending on, what opportunities we have, they can read off of each other and kind of make plays and reads off of any of those actions.
Now, as far as obviously everybody's always trying to improve, we wouldn't be here at this masterclass if that wasn't the case. When it comes to, the spacing concepts, who are some of the teams that you like to watch, watching film and really like looking and studying how they're doing what they're doing and trying to, maybe plug that into your offense a little bit?
Absolutely. I think our pinnacle or our pillar that we've really like looked to use a lot of would be like the Boston Celtics. Um, we're a New England team, but essentially a lot of us and a couple of our offensive minded assistants are from the New England area. So I think that's typically where we turn to. And I think, going into this summer, we've really looked at like the WNBA to see which teams kind of do what we're hoping to do. And I think like the Aces are another team that we kind of like have started to pick some things from in terms of like where we want to evolve.
Awesome, Coach. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today. Now, as far as what you have coming up in the future, obviously the season's right around the corner. What are some of the things that you all are doing to, going into the preseason? If there were athletes who end up listening to this, what are some of the things, especially with you being a former athlete yourself, what are some of the things that they could start to focus on right now to prep going into the season?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question. And for us, we're really just preparing to like build on our concepts, and be prepared for when our players come back. We're fortunate to do a foreign tour in the next 2 weeks. So we get to go to Spain and Portugal. So we'll have our players on campus for a few days prior to that. But essentially for all, athletes that are preparing to go back to campus and to prepare for, their first, second, third, or their last year, I think the biggest thing is like continue to have fun, continue to build on your weaknesses. I think it's always fun to like be encouraged in the weight room, but essentially, like, where do you feel like your weaknesses are and where do you feel like you can continue to improve on the court or off the court if that's your conditioning? Like, we might not love the mile, we got to run it. So, definitely doing the things that make you uncomfortable because that'll just prepare you mentally and physically to be ready to hit the court when the time comes for preseason.
All right, Coach. Last couple of questions, and then I'm going to let you get out of here. We appreciate, all the time that you've taken away from your busy schedule to be here with us today. If athletes are trying to get recruited, what are some of the best things that they can do in order, to get in touch with college coaches? And then what are some of the things that if an athlete's doing this, Like they don't have any chance. They're taking themselves out of the game, even if they are highly skilled.
Yeah, I think ways to, build your chances, like social media is out there and it's plentiful, and that's a good resource. It can also be an Achilles heel for some people. But reaching out to the programs that you're interested in, making sure you're going to camps. I think that's a great way these days to get seen. Camps can, be twofold in some ways, but I think that's a great opportunity to learn about the school, learn about their systems, their concepts, what each program runs, right? Being present. You don't have to be on a circuit to get seen, but I think going to camps, especially to the programs that you're excited about and a little bit more about, sending emails is also a great way, with highlights, updated highlights, making sure, you're sharing pertinent information with the coaching staff. Some of them, might look past it. Here at Brown, we definitely make sure we're looking at the self recruits whenever we see an email, making sure that, they can align with us. In terms of what, student athletes are doing to take themselves out of the game, it's how you portray yourself, on social media, how you portray yourself, in games and or to your AAU coaches, your high school coaches, like always making sure that you're a good human being, right? You're going the extra mile essentially. Everyone wants to know that who they're recruiting, they're good people at heart. And I think that's the number one thing that we all have the opportunity to take care of and we're in control of. It's just like how other people see you and how you, showcase who you are. You want to be a good human being. No one wants to recruit the rude buttholes of the world, for lack of better terms. But just being a good human being, I think, sets you apart.
Awesome, man. Last two questions, the easiest two questions. First and foremost, how can everybody follow you? Can they follow you on social media and keep up with everything that you have going on? If you have any projects of yourself, or, of that you're working on right now, feel free to tell us about that as well.
Yeah, no personal projects yet, but I'm hoping that I can get something started. The best and easiest way to follow me is on Twitter or X at Coach BZ Thomas _. I'll put that in the chat so everyone can give me a follow and I'll follow back and we can create our network and keep going.
Awesome. And last question that we ask everybody, it's always one of our most fun questions. If you could have anybody come on and present, but keep in mind that you have to help us get them on here, who would that be?
Oof. I don't know. That's a tall order. I would say Dawn Staley, but I don't know if I have the pull to get Dawn Staley on this one.
On Stahelia. All right, we're going to have to work on it. Thank you again, and Coach, for joining us today. Again, just a reminder, if anybody needs any sort of film, if you're trying to watch the game at a higher level, Synergy Sports is the way to go. If you need to get in contact with them, just feel free to hit us up at justin@hoopstudy.com. And anything that you need for your apparel, make sure that you're checking out Wooter. We will be on our masterclass again on August 5th, where we will be talking about recruiting. Thank you again, and we will be looking forward to talking to you all soon.